Welcome to Selfish Confidence, a place where we can connect and be real about how hard it is to be your damn self. I'm your host, Jess, and my goal is to help you build confidence and belief in yourself to live any life path you want, even if it's unconventional. It's time to break down those barriers and connect with women who've also felt on the outside by their life choices. We're encouraging you to grab the mic and speak your truth. I know it can be scary, but we're in this together. We got this. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Selfish Confidence Podcast. It's Jess hanging out with you today, and I have a really exciting episode that I wanted to talk to you about. This idea came to me last night as I was sitting in my underpants eating crackers at the kitchen island at 11 p.m. And Glenn was snoring in the bedroom, and I was eating crackers in the kitchen after a really busy day and just not even realizing that I didn't eat enough during the day. It was just like one of those days. It's like thing after thing after thing. And of course I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but sometimes your girl needs more food than that. And I didn't realize I was hungry until I was laying in bed reading my book. And I was like, oh, either I have the flu or I'm really hungry. And in that moment, I took a little break, went out to the kitchen in my underpants and had some crackers. And I was like, if this works, awesome. It was hunger. And if it doesn't, then it's going to be a long night. And it was just one of those moments, you know, that gut feeling that you're like, I really hope this is just hunger. And so I took the time to feed myself and have some crackers and just sit in the kitchen in my underwear. And in that moment, I realized that it's so important that we listen to these hunger cues, or we listen to our bodies in these ways. And it was a form of self-care that I hadn't really considered as self-care. And I'm currently in a nutrition program with some wonderful people, and I'm really starting to learn some of these things about myself and about nutrition and how I'm taking time or not taking time for myself in different areas. And it really sparked this idea of a podcast episode all about self-care in ways that we don't think about them being self-care. And even as I sat down to think about the different ones that I wanted to talk about, and I was like, I'll pick like 3 or 4, I literally have this long list of self-care ideas that we don't normally see or celebrate as self-care. And I thought it'd be a cool thing to share some of them with you, share some of my ideas with you, that maybe you can start to see your self-care a little bit different too. And before I dive into each of them, while we're talking about self-care, I just thought I would mention that I still have 3 beds open for the Selfish Confidence Retreat. That is happening on April 21st to 23rd. It's just outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia, in this beautiful spot right on the river where we'll be able to connect and work on your confidence and really enjoy some time in self-care. We're going to have a sound bath and a confidence photo shoot and just really focusing on you with incredible people around you all weekend long. And if you've been looking for something that could be self-care for you, or looking for just an opportunity to connect with like-minded and beautiful people, this is the space for you. There is already 7 beautiful women who are signed up for this, so there is only 3 beds left, and I know they're going to go quick, but I want you to have the opportunity to join us and to see yourself in this beautiful light that we all get to see you in, and enjoy compliments from others and connecting with people. And these confidence photo shoots, oh my gosh, you should go over to my feed and go a little bit down. The last one was in November, and we did these shoots with Kate Elizabeth Photography, and they are incredible. The photos that people got that they get to share with others or use on their social media or use on their dating profiles is a really cool and special thing to see. So if you're looking for an awesome weekend just outside of Halifax, getting away from the noise, looking for that self-care, maybe after today's episode, you're going to be like, oh, right, I do need that. I need to snag that bed. Let me know. Send me a message. I'll also put in the show notes the link for you to be able to go and claim that space. And I'm excited to see you there because I love these in-person events where I really get to spend a whole weekend connecting with you and seeing you in a different light and trying my best to show you that beautiful light that I see. And if you can walk away seeing yourself the way that I see you, it is just the coolest thing ever. And even once you get the photos back and you can look at those and it's just like, oh, that's me? Okay. I had no idea my smile could look like that. Or I had no idea that in a picture I could look good, right? But you can. And you're going to see that this weekend. So check out the show notes for all the information there, or send me a message and we can chat a little bit more about where it is and what you can expect and everything that's included in the retreat. Now let's dive into today's topic. And I don't even know what to name this topic or this episode. It's like celebrating non-self-care things that you're doing. I don't know. I haven't thought of a clever name yet, so obviously this is going to be live, so I can't ask for suggestions. Just I hope that I pick the right name as it comes out. But I'm celebrating these self-care areas that we just don't celebrate. And a big one that I put down on the top of the list was trusting that gut feeling. And when you trust and you listen to that gut feeling, I think that is the biggest form of self-care. Your intuition knows you. And last night as I was sitting in bed and I'm like, is this hunger or is this the flu? Just trusting that gut intuition that I needed to get up and have some crackers. And that might seem like such a silly thing to say, but I think that's a big form of self-care. Listening to your body, listening to your intuition, and knowing that you needed something. Insert whatever that is for you. Maybe it's that you need to get out for a walk. Your stress and your anxiety has been a bit high. Or maybe it's that you need to change up your medications because things just haven't been feeling right. Trusting that gut feeling for some of these big things in your life. And instead of just brushing it off and saying, oh, whatever, I'll just go to sleep, or, oh, whatever, I'm fine, I'll just keep working through it. Knowing that your body is trying to tell you something. Often when my anxiety is high too, I know it can be my body's cue for something. So maybe it's that I am low on iron that day, or that I need more food. Sometimes I know that something is off in my body if my anxiety is high with no particular reason. So maybe that's something that you can start tuning into a little bit more too. And as you do, celebrate it as self-care. If you listen to your body in some way, maybe it's a hunger cue, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's a feeling in your chest, maybe it's just that knowing to not walk in that area or to not turn down that road. Every time you trust that feeling and that intuition, celebrate that as self-care. Another one I had on my list that kind of ties into this one is eating when you're hungry. And maybe that seems like such a silly one where you're just like, duh, obviously, Jess, come on, I eat when I'm hungry. But I don't know about you, diet culture messed up my head pretty bad and told me to drink water instead of eating when I was hungry. Like that hunger and thirst are the same feeling, and you should probably just have some water or fill up your belly with water so that you don't eat as much food, right? We've been told these things our whole life. Or, oh, it'll just pass, everything's going to be okay. Or even last night with the crackers, it's like, oh, well, just go to sleep. Like, close your eyes. Like, I tried to start to count down from 1,000. One of my girlfriends taught me that. So I was like counting down. And as I was like, I'm still hungry. Why am I laying in bed counting, forcing myself to sleep when I should just get up and eat some crackers or have something? Because I know I'm going to sleep better if I just put a little something in my belly. Eating and honoring those hunger cues is a great form of self-care. I think it also helps us to combat those things that we've been told our whole lives about eating and diet. And when you actually honor your body and what it wants and how it's fueled and listening to the hunger cues, it's the same as trusting that gut feeling and trusting that intuition. It's feeding your body when it needs food. Hunger cues is your body telling you, hey, what up? I'm hungry. I need some more fuel over here. So listening to that is an incredible form of self-care, and really battling through some of the things we've been told our whole lives is a wonderful form of self-care. So if that's you today and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to start listening to my hunger cues. Instead of portioning out my food or measuring this or, figuring out that or counting my calories, I'm actually just going to start listening to my body and figure out these hunger cues. It is an incredible way to just feel empowered to know yourself in that way. It took me a long time also to just kind of fight back on some of that stuff, but trusting the hunger cues and taking those steps in that direction have been a great form of self-care for me. Another one I have on my list here today is doing something out of the pureness of wanting to do something. Doing something because you know it's going to bring you joy. Doing something because you want to do it. And that being a big form of self-care, because I think too, it's everything has to be done for a reason. It has to be productive, or it has to be resourceful, or it has to be, on our way home from work or whatever. But what if you were to do something purely because you want to do it? And I'm not saying go rob a bank or murder someone. I'm saying actually stopping for that expensive latte that you really wanted to get because it's at your favorite spot, and no, it's not on the way home. And yeah, you'll probably be late picking up the kids, but you took a moment to go do something that you really wanted to do, something you've been craving all week, something that sometimes we deem ourselves as selfish or wrong or bad because we want to do. And you're none of those things. It's just because you want it. You're allowed to want things. And I want you to start celebrating when you give in to that feeling of purely wanting something and giving it to yourself. Maybe it's a piece of clothing that you've been really having your eye on, but I often think of it even just as like the little things of picking the restaurant that brings you joy, or going on that walk because you want to go for the walk, not because your dog needs a walk, not because your kids have to get out of the house, like doing something because you want to do it. And I put this stuff on the back burner all the time. I don't have kids and I still put this stuff on the back burner. So for you listening, I bet you're doing the same. I bet you're feeling like you can't do something just because you want it. One, because you're not worthy of spending that money on yourself, or you're not worthy of making that time for yourself, right? If you're going to be asking someone to watch the kids, well, it might as well be for a good reason, right? And that good reason would be to work or to, insert anything else, right? Other than doing something for you. But I really want you to put something on your list and check that box because you want to do it, because it's going to bring you joy and it's going to fill your cup up in a way that hasn't been filled in a long time. So lean on yourself and give yourself that gift and do a form of self-care that just isn't celebrated in this world as much. And send me a message because I'm going to celebrate you when you do something for you. Another form of self-care that I have on the list here is slowing down. I don't think that one's celebrated enough either, or even actioned enough either, right? I think society that we're in glorifies being busy. It glorifies having a full schedule. And even now, as my schedule keeps getting full every day, I am so grateful to be busy, but I never want to be that person that celebrates the busyness, right? I've always seen something so beautiful in slowing down, but my whole life I've never really been able to do it. And maybe you're the same, where you're just like, wouldn't it be nice to slow down? Wouldn't it be nice to take a nap? Wouldn't it be nice to not have to be speeding everywhere I go? And lately I've been getting these reminders that it is my time to slow down a little bit, even if it's just going for a walk at a little bit of a slower pace, or slowing down how I speak. Maybe you even noticed it right now. As I think about it, I can slow down my speech a little bit more, where normally I'm like fired up going and crazy. And I'm like, if anyone listens to my podcast in 2-speed, I'd like to know if you listen to my podcast in 2-speed, please. But having these moments and reminders to slow down can be really helpful. And as you listen to them and you action them, I really think that's a huge form of self-care. I've been trying to do it intentionally, especially when I'm out for a walk with the dog. I can go really, really fast because I want it to be done. Don't get me wrong. I love being outside, love my dog, but I have a lot of things to do. My list is really full. Things are really busy right now. And, if I can get this done really quick, it's just another thing off my list that I can check. But what if you were to slow down and enjoy the moment? Enjoy eating a meal, right? I don't know about you. I eat pretty fast too. We live in this fast-paced society. I think a wonderful form of self-care is just slowing down a little bit. Enjoying the plate in front of you, enjoying going for a walk, enjoying talking with a friend on the phone, and just not rushing as much as we do. Sometimes I'll just spew all the words out or write it all out on paper and try to go as fast as I can. But you know what? I think it's a really big gift to be able to just slow down and enjoy this moment. We don't know when our last moment is going to be on earth. And not to get morbid with you on this podcast today, but that's the truth. And I would hate for my last moment to be one that I'm rushing, speeding in the car. It's a big one for me. Speeding to get somewhere, rushing, running late, and always always rushing around the house to get the chores done, to get the house cleaned. Slow down and enjoy a moment. Put your hands on that cup of coffee that you have in the morning and sip it real nice and slow. And maybe everything around you feels fast and chaotic, and the kids are running around and the dog is barking and life is crazy and your husband's running out the door, and you're just like, I could never slow down in this moment. I got to keep up with this crazy life I have. 15 minutes. Set the timer. really feel how it feels to slow down and enjoy the process. Maybe even leave the house like 15 minutes early so that you could stop for coffee on the way, or you could take the pace a little bit slower. I notice this one a lot when I get stuck behind a slow-mo, slow drivers, you know the ones, and I often will sit there and I'll just be like, I'll pray about it and be like, I know you're trying to teach me patience right now, but I really got to get to my dentist appointment, or I really got to get here, I got to get there. And it's in those moments that I learn how fast I'm going. I don't notice it, that I'm running my life on 2-speed until I'm in a moment that I need to like actually slow down. Like the lineup at the grocery store is really long, so you have to slow down. Or the person in front of you is driving slow. Or you're at a restaurant and they're taking a really long time to cook your meal. And you're just like, oh. One thing I loved about Barbados, especially when it came to mealtime, was that you could sit at the table all night and nobody was going to come and pressure you to get out of the table. Nobody was going to come and put the check down and tell you to get the F out. Like you could stay there all night and really spend time with people and have a slow dinner. And it was something that was celebrated to have that time. And we don't do that in Canadian culture. We're very rushed. We're running around. So if you can find a way to slow down, I would celebrate that as a wonderful form of self-care. Okay, I have a couple more on my list that I want to share with you today that I think will really help you to walk into this. I was even thinking February is the month of self-love. What a great time to be focusing on different areas of self-care. One that I have here is saying no. I don't think we celebrate that one enough because we feel guilty. I don't know about you. I feel really guilty when I say no to certain things or certain people or certain events or partnerships for me, collaborations, different business endeavors. I thought I needed to be in a season of saying yes to everything. Well, if I want to grow and I want my business to grow and I want more people to listen to the podcast, I need to be saying yes to everything. And that's not the case. If something doesn't feel aligned, if something doesn't feel right, if you're tired, if you want to do something purely out of joy and you can't fit it all into your schedule, saying no to the things that don't bring you joy is a really great form of self-care. And don't get me wrong, I know we're going to need to do some things that we don't want to do. I don't want to do my taxes, but I have to. I don't want to organize all my receipts, but I have to. Thankfully, Glenn helps me out a lot with that. But, sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. And there's big pieces of my business that I don't really want to do. But that being said, there are other things where I can say no. Yeah, some things I have to say yes to, but there are other things in my life that I know if a collaboration doesn't fit, or if there's a party that I don't want to go to and I'd rather stay home and sit in the bath, I'm going to say no. And trusting that that's the right decision and letting go of the guilt and the shame that comes with saying no to certain things. Maybe it's saying no to your kids. I bet that one's really hard. Don't get me wrong. I bet it's really hard. Their faces are so cute and you want to say yes because you feel like it makes you a good parent by saying yes, but sometimes it's so important to say no. And say no for your mental health, say no for theirs, and just really leaning into no being a complete sentence. It's okay to say no and to celebrate that as a form of self-care. And that leads me into a couple others that are on the list here, like letting go of things. There's certain things that are on your to-do list that have been on there all week and you're just like, I'm never going to get that done. Does it really need to get done? Let go. Let it go. It doesn't have to happen the way that you think it has to or it should happen. Let go of your expectations for different areas of your life that you've been holding on to way too tight. Let go of that guilt and that shame. I also have those guilt-free decisions on the list, celebrating that as a form of self-care. Being able to say yes or being able to say no to things without feeling guilty. And I know as women, this one's a hard one. For some reason, we have a lot of guilt and shame about saying no and guilt and shame about the decisions that we make. Maybe it's leaving a job. And even though like the job you're in is good, the one you've been offered and that new one, oh man, it's so much better. But you still feel that guilt about leaving the people that you were working with or leaving the job empty, right? That workplace, I'm going to tell you, they don't care. They don't care about you. They're going to find someone to fill that position. Do they wish you would stay? Heck yeah, that would make their life a lot easier. But it's because of ease, not because they love you and you're the best person for that job, right? those guilt-free decisions and letting go of some of that guilt and shame that we have around things is a wonderful form of self-care. This one takes a lot of work and a lot of practice. So there's going to be a lot of like discomfort and uncomfortable feelings for a while before you actually feel like you can truly embrace making a decision purely out of joy or because you want some of these other things in your life or you want to let go of some of that guilt and that shame. You're trusting that gut feeling. All of these forms of self-care can be wrapped up even into this just one decision of a guilt-free decision. Honor yourself and give yourself some self-care by really leaning into this and the things that you've been doing in your life because there's guilt and shame, and just trying to change a few things while you can. While you're in the moment and you're thinking about them and you're slowing down and you're sipping your coffee and you're spending some time with yourself and you start to realize, oh, poop. I do that one thing because I feel like I should. Maybe it's like Sunday dinners with the family and you go every week on Sunday. And even though you love your family, every week's been feeling like a lot of guilt. Sunday, you start to get that gut feeling. You're like, oh man, like I got to go to dinner with my family again. And again, you love them. I know you do. But what if you were to just say no one week? What if you were to lean into yourself, give yourself a guilt-free decision, spend some time with you, slow down, and enjoy a Sunday alone? I don't know about you, but I really like spending time alone. I do. As I start to go through these and I'm like checking them off the list, like crossing them off as I talk about these different forms of self-care, I'm starting to see how they're all linked together. And it's like almost that unconventional form of self-care. Maybe that's the title we go with. Unconventional forms of self-care that should be celebrated. And you know how I feel about the word should, but like in this case, I really do think they should be. You need to be celebrating yourself in more ways. And one of the ones that I have on here too is keeping promises to yourself. Has there been something you've been telling yourself that you're like, oh, you know what? Next week, I am going to start meditating every day. Or I'm going to start moving my body in a way that feels good for me. Or I'm going to do some of these self-care forms, like take the long drive home, slow down, and enjoy a cup of coffee before I pull into the driveway with the craziness. Maybe there's something that you're just like, I'm going to start doing this for me. But then Tuesday comes and you don't feel like going to the gym, or you feel like you have to rush home because, the babysitter needs to go, or, your mom's watching the kids and you're just like, well, I don't want her to have to stay longer, or I can't ask her to take care of my kids so that I can go get a coffee. Like that is not fair. Yeah, well, I think it is. You can do this. Keep that promise to yourself. Take the long drive home. Stop at the gym. Do what feels good for you. And ask yourself that. Have that conversation with yourself every day. Just be like, what's going to feel good today? What's one thing that I can do that's going to feel good today? Okay, I'm going to do that. And you're going to keep that promise. Even though at 5 o'clock you're tired and you don't really want to, or you feel guilty about all those things, keep that promise to yourself. Let all these forms of self-care really lean into yourself and feel good. Feel good for once in your life. You deserve it and you're worthy of this time. You're worthy of these unconventional forms of self-care. I just have a couple more on the list that I want to share with you, but one being sleep. And I wrote this one because I feel guilt sometimes about how much sleep I take and how I prioritize sleep, or how I know I can be grumpy if I don't get 9 hours of sleep. I know. If you like just like jaw dropped and you're like, 9 hours, really? I'm not going to lie to you. If I get 7, it's fine. 8, okay. Because there's a reason I'm not a parent, and there's a reason that that's not on the list. A big one being because I'm a person who needs a lot of sleep. As a projector, human design, we are tired people sometimes. And once I learned that, I really decided to lean into my sleep schedule and not use alarms. I am blessed to not have to have an alarm about 90% of the time. Or if I do set an alarm, it's a little bit later just so that I make sure that I'm up when I feel like I need to be up, but also it's not early. It's not a 6 a.m. alarm, I'm telling you that. And I've started to learn this, going to bed early and actually spending that time reading in bed and slowing down and having those moments, and then sleeping in until I really need to get up is really helpful. I spend extra time in bed in the morning cuddling the animals and just enjoying that slow time. but I've always felt a lot of guilt about it. I'm like, oh, well, there's so many people out there who don't get this much sleep, or people are going to make fun of me because, I prioritize my sleep. And I bet there's someone listening to this right now, and there's two people. The one who's like, oh, yeah, girl, I love my sleep too. I feel you, sister. And then there's the other person like, oh my gosh, I wish. 9 hours, like, doesn't that sound like a dream? That would be like my dream vacation, 9 hours of sleep, right? And Glenn actually sleeps a lot less than me. I'm the one that just needs more. And it's something that we've talked about in our relationship, and he's been very respectful of that. If I need to sleep in, he doesn't make me feel guilty about it. He doesn't make me feel bad. He knows if I sleep, I'm probably going to be a nicer human and a better wife, so he lets me sleep. But that's one of those unconventional forms of self-care that can kind of be looked at in a couple different ways. And I often don't share that with a lot of people. Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a grandma, I go to bed early. But I don't often tell people that I also sleep in. Like, I go to bed early and I sleep in, because I know that it's not always looked at in that same way. Like, oh, well, you must be lazy. And I don't think that's the case. Starting to figure out that gut feeling and doing something out of pure joy and doing something without the guilt and the shame, all these things that we've been talking about self-care today, big one for me, that comes with sleep. I'm doing it guilt-free. I got no shame. I might not tell you about my sleep schedule, but I got no shame about needing more sleep. I wouldn't be able to do 2 podcasts a week, one-on-one clients, group coaching programs, speaking on stages, doing all these things if I don't get that type of sleep. I need a little bit more, and maybe you do too. I challenge you to look at your current sleep situation, and maybe you're laughing at me. You have kids. I feel you. If you want to come sleep at my house, please send me a message. I got a spare bed. You can hide from the kids. But I challenge you to look at it and see where you can add a little bit more or take it away. It all depends on what you need. Maybe you don't need as much as I do. Maybe you're a robot and you can sleep on 5 hours. I know there's people out there who can do it. So do what's best for you and really look at that form of self-care. Do I need more? Do I need less? Where can I add it? Do I go to bed earlier? Do I sleep in? Do I skip that morning workout? Really listening to that gut feeling on where you can have some more sleep right now. And that being a wonderful form of self-care. That is probably the top of my list for self-care. Trusting that gut and getting enough sleep and not feeling guilty about getting enough sleep. And also not letting someone else make you feel guilty or lazy for getting more sleep or for getting less sleep, whatever it is for you. I think sometimes society tells us to the 5 a.m. club and do this and do that. And if you want to be successful in business, you have to have a morning routine. And I don't think that's true. You get to do business your way. You get to do life your way. That's what this podcast is all about. We do things differently here. We do things our way. And so for you, look at these different areas of self-care and see where you can start to do things your way, where you can start to do self-care differently, and you can start to celebrate these little things that maybe you're doing on a day-to-day basis that you don't even realize is self-care. Self-care is not just about the bath bombs and, taking a moment for you and yoga and these things and eye masks and all this stuff, right? It's not that. It's actually these deeper things that you can be doing for yourself, something purely out of joy and getting rid of the guilt and doing things because you want to do them and, getting that sleep and slowing down. The other one, the last one that I have on the list here, is turning your phone on Do Not Disturb and maybe taking social media breaks, right? Putting those parameters and those blocks on social media. But the big one for me is the Do Not Disturb. I actually turn off most notifications on social media. If you're just like, well, why isn't Jess answering me? I literally have not seen it. I will not look at my notifications. I have Do Not Disturb on my phone from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. I keep those boundaries really secure because I spend my whole life on social media. Like, this is my business. This is my life. My phone, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm addicted. I don't know about you, I'm addicted. So I know you are too. I really need to set those boundaries in place. And right now, even sitting down to do this podcast episode, I had to put my watch on Do Not Disturb. I had to put my phone in a whole other room because this episode would not happen had I still had my phone sitting beside me or if my watch kept buzzing every time a text came in. Life is busy. I know that. So if you get easily distracted like me, put those distractions away. Keep those promises to yourself that you've been wanting to have more time for you or you want to read a book and instead of grabbing the book, you grab your phone, right? Keep the promise to yourself and actually grab the book. Read the pages. Spend that time, put it on Do Not Disturb. People really don't need you 24/7. I know, maybe that hurts. Maybe you're like, yes, I do. They don't need you 24/7. You are actually needed. You need yourself 24/7. Other people can wait. So do these unconventional forms of self-care and really lean into what you need today. And maybe that's a little extra sleep. Maybe that's putting your phone on Do Not Disturb. Maybe that's stopping for the coffee on the way home. Maybe that's taking the long drive home, slowing down, and enjoying these moments of your life that you just don't often get to enjoy. I'm really curious about what you think of these unconventional forms of self-care. Is there something that you're just like, oh yeah, like this is the one that I would put on my list? Like people don't see it as self-care, but I'm celebrating it. And I want to know what it is for you, because I know this list could go much longer and I've already taken up 30 minutes. So I'm just going to cut it off here. But I did get through everything that I had written down this morning that I just thought was a different way of looking at self-care. And I'd love to know what it is on your list. Like maybe it's like eating garlic fingers. You're like, that is my form of unconventional self-care. Garlic fingers all the way. Whatever it is for you, I'd love to know what it is. Send me a message, send me a DM and connect with me and be like, this is another one. And then I can share it with other people, because the more ideas that we can get about these different forms of self-care, I think the more the world is going to see you taking your care of yourself in a way that just looks differently. And instead of it always being the same thing that we always have to do, all of us, we all journal and we all meditate, and that's our form of self-care. Do you like how I change my voice when it comes to that? I want you to do things your way. And if meditation and journaling and, whatever isn't for you, taking a walk isn't for you, what is for you? How do you take care of yourself? How are you showing yourself some love today? And as we walk into the month of love, what is it that you're going to show up for yourself? One thing for Glenn and I, before I wrap this up, this one's a good one. Well, I think it's a good one. One thing was I saw a post the other day on social media of this rental. It was a cottage that was, having a winter sale. And I was like, oh, I've been wanting to do a little getaway for Glenn and I, just to get away from this craziness, even to get out of the office, to boost some creativity and just to feel good and fresh air and walk on the beach and all these things. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, let me ask them what the sale is. Let me ask them some questions. And I did. And instantly in my gut, I was like, oh, well, I can't spend that kind of money right now, or I can't do that. It's midweek. Is Glenn really going to take time off during the week to go on this little getaway? Well, yeah, it's a discount. And if you know me, I love a good discount. But I really had to fight myself on actually booking it. It was one thing to bring it up to Glenn, for him to say yes, and another thing for me to actually send the money and book it, because I didn't feel worthy of taking a midweek vacation. I didn't feel worthy of spending that kind of money on a couple nights at a cottage locally, right? But before I could even really think about it, I just said, you know what, F it, I'm going to book this. Glenn and I need a little time away. I need to boost my creativity. I need to take some time with a book and get some fresh air. And there's a hot tub, and I'm just excited to relax. And instead of doing one day, I did 2 days, and I knew that I'd be able to really connect with myself in that time and connect with Glenn and just do that self-care. And I know that that's not really an unconventional one, right? We all know a vacation is a great form of self-care. But for me, taking that time off from my work and taking that time off from really being home, it was a harder decision. I challenge you, where those areas that you're feeling resistance and you're feeling discomfort and you're just like, I can't do that, even if it's something really small or if it's something really big. Look into it as a form of self-care. Do something for you. Step out of your comfort zone and push that limit of your worthiness. Push that limit of what you see as self-care or what you see like you could do right now. You might be surprised when you ask for help. Maybe it's someone to watch the kids for a night, or it's to take that time for you. Or maybe you go on one of these self-care retreats. Maybe you come to the confidence retreat all by yourself, right? Even though that's so uncomfortable for you, where you don't know anybody, I promise you, you will feel great if that's to choose to come to the selfish retreat, right? To step out of your comfort zone in that way. So what are you going to do for yourself this week? What's that self-care going to look like? How are you doing things differently? And send me a message. Let me know what it is. I love hearing from you. I love connecting with you and really knowing that what I'm saying on here resonates, because honestly, like, I'm sitting here by myself, essentially talking to myself. And as much as I can picture you and visualize you hanging out in here with me, I have another chair on the other side of this mic, and I can visualize you here. It's another thing to know that you're actually connecting and resonating with the episode. So if you can send me a message and let me know that things are connecting with you, that you're doing some kind of self-care for yourself and celebrating yourself in a different way, oh, it feels so good. Like, it just really helps me to stay motivated to keep showing up and keep creating these episodes for you. So I hope you are having a wonderful day. And I really hope that you're taking care of yourself, or at least even thinking about taking care of yourself today or this week or even this month, whatever works for you. And don't forget, we do things differently here, so don't let someone look at the way that you do self-care, look at the way that you're doing life, and make you feel uncomfortable in that. We are different people. We're a different breed, and that's a good thing. So go let your magic shine in this world, and I hope you have a magical day. I am so grateful that we could connect today. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a friend or on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me grow this community and get my message out there. And don't forget, you deserve to embrace your truth. It's time to live life your way.